Morning, students. Today our topic is regarding allergic rhinitis. Okay, I think you would have all read in your microbiology. You better than me. Pathophysiology, everything. Okay, for allergic rhinitis. Actually, for theoretically, this topic is not much important in ENT, but in practical, it's very important. In almost 30 to 40%, 30 to 40% of the patients will get in your OPD. Okay, so you should know mainly the pharmacotherapy, management of allergic rhinitis. Okay, and I'll finish off in half an hour. After that, I'll tell what are the syllabus for your second internal. I think second internal ENT on 22nd of this month. Okay, 22nd ENT, 24th Afpal, and then I think 26th community medicine with one day gap in between. Okay. Okay. Coming to the topic. So allergy means loss and ergon. Loss means breath intake. Okay, from either food, pollen, dust, either mites like chemicals, and contact with skin like latex, lotions, and soaps. What is actually immunity? Immunity is what you think is actually the protective phenomenon. One side it's a protective phenomenon, on the other side, am I audible to you with this mask? Okay, thank you. One side it's a protective, on the other side it may cause hyperinsensitive people, it may cause damage to the tissues of the host. It's called hypersensitization. Okay, hypersensitivity. What is the allergy? Is a IG mediated hypersensitivity of the nasal mucosa to the foreign substances, characterized by the itching, sneezing, and watery discharge. Uh, Here in hypersensitivity, there is an allergy. Two types are there. One is anaphylaxis, and second one is atopy. Anaphylaxis is a acute condition and is a fatal condition. Atopy is a chronic condition, not that much fatal. Okay. In both these conditions, there is a exaggerated IgE antibody response will be there. Okay, it's reflected by the positive skin prick test. One second. A response to one or more common aeroallergens. It's a familial tendency, mostly autosomal dominant with strong maternal inheritance associated with chromosome 11q, mainly genetical. Okay, autosomal dominant with strong maternal inheritance associated with chromosome 11q. Okay. What about IgE? Remember, can you tell any special characteristics of IgE antibodies compared to other antibodies? To remember microbiology. In normal people also, very less amount of IgE antibodies will form. But in sensitive people, in allergy, in atopic individuals, there will be exaggerated amount of antibodies, IgE antibodies will form. What is the special characteristics of the IgE antibody? Anybody? It's a heat labile. So if you inactivate at 56 degrees centigrade, it lost its FC part of the so that it can't attach to the cell. Okay, and anything homoisotropic. Homoisotropic means it attaches to the only human cells and doesn't cross blood-brain barrier. Okay, nobody is told. Okay, actually this PPT is meant for postgraduates. This pathophysiology are not much important in your ENT, but for completion sake, I'll finish off briefly. Okay, this is the allergy classification. Is that seasonal allergic rhinitis, that is spring and summer season, the tree pollen, Anopheles wind pollutant plants, and late summer and autumn cases, fungal spores, common species are Sclerosporium and all. In allergy rhinitis following thunderstorm or Rhydimella spores. Okay, mainly the season allergy rhinitis because of the pollen. Okay, these are the seasonal. Spring in spring season tree pollen, summer is the grass pollen, and fall season weed pollen. These are the August there chance of mold spores, and September is a ragweed, and is October mold and fungus spores are more common. Be very careful in these seasons. That's perennial allergic rhinitis. Perennial means throughout the year. Okay. Most common cause is house dust mite, mainly cockroaches and all. Okay, microarthropods, house dust, and optimal condition for mite growth temperature is 15 degrees centigrade, 20 degrees centigrade, and humidity is 60 to 70%. See, this is the Acarina. It's the pyroglyphide dermatophagoid spirinae. Okay. Now coming to most common and cat allergens. The major cat allergen is FEL-D1. It's a potent and LC-TIG responsive 90% of the cases. Be careful, those who are eating this cat. Okay. Dog allergens. Major dog allergens. CAM, CAM, F1 accounts for IG responsive 70% of the cases in dog allergens. Okay. Occupational allergens are barkers, mill workers, carpenters, animal laboratory workers. The most chance of atopy, okay, allergy present in these patients. Okay. This is cat allergen and dog allergens. Food and drug induced rhinitis. So what are the food sensitive to the this allergy is sulfates, benzoates, tartragens are not much important. Histamine content foods like cheese and fish. Okay. Drugs like aspirin, beta blockers, and ACE inhibitors. We have to tell the patient to avoid some particular foods like some fruits like banana and sore like causing like oranges. Okay, grapes. There are things we should tell them to avoid it. Okay, some foods I think all foods are there here. Like shellfish, tomatoes, raw egg white. Okay, oranges and all. These are important. Regarding pathogenesis, so main thing phase 1 is sensitization phase, stage 2 is early inflammation phase. After sensitization, the formation of IgE antibodies attaches to the mast cell through its FC end. Okay, if a atopic person gets exposed to the allergen for the second time, that is the second time means shocking dose. First dose is a sensitizing dose, second one is shocking dose. This allergen gets attached to the FAB end of the IgE antibodies that triggers the release of inflammatory mediators from the mast cells. Okay, see IgE antibodies attached to mast cells through FC end, attached to the antigen to the FB end. Okay, you can see after there is a release of mast cell release of granules release from the mast cells. These are histamine, proteolytic enzymes, heparin, chemoattractive factors. These are the preformed mediators. And there will be release of phospholipase. This phospholipase after activation develops into arachidonic acid. Okay, arachidonic acid divides into prostaglandins and thromboxane by cyclooxygenase pathway and into the leukotrienes by the lipoxygenase pathway. It's very important this picture. Okay, steroids acts actually. Corticosteroids acts where it acts prevents the formation of arachidonic acid by preventing this activated phospholipase. Okay, steroids. That's why their role in allergy rhinitis is very important. These are preformed mediators. What are preformed mediators? These are histamines, heparins, and tryptase, kinase, and all. These activities are there. Mainly bronchoconstriction, increased vascular permeability, and increased mucus secretion and all. Okay. release of medicines of new mediators of prostaglandins, leukotrienes. Leukotrienes mainly bronchoconstriction. Prostaglandin also bronchoconstriction. Okay. Others are cytokines IL-4, IL-5, IL-13, and GM-CSF, MCP, that's monocyte chemotoxic protein, and macrophage inflammatory protein. There are important. What are the late phase reactions? T lymphocytes and mast cell, they produce IL-3, IL-5, GM-CSF. It's very difficult to understand, remember all these things. Okay, mast cell IL-5 and LTB4, they activate eosinophils. Okay. At least this pathophysiology and all not much important for ENT. Okay, but microbiology is very important topic. Immunology. Okay. In late phase, mast cell derived mediates acts on endothelial cells and produce that VCM and ICAM. Okay. In late phase, what happened? Late phase, basophils are the in early phase, mast cells. In late phase, basophils are major source of histamine. Okay, they cause PF, which causes vasodilatation. This is the diagrammatic way of pathophysiology of allergic rhinitis. In normal condition, if the histamine release, there is a sneezing and water discharge and itching. Okay, that's in a rapid phase. In late phase, there will be blockage and mucus secretion because of the prostaglandins and leukotrienes. Okay, in subacute or chronic inflammatory phase, there will be permanent cold or involvement of sinuses, loss of smell and taste. That's because of eosinophils and neutrophils. Okay, it's important for you. Picture showing symptoms of allergic rhinitis like red, itchy, watery eyes, sneezing, congestion, runny nose, itching, sore throat, postnasal drip, and cough. Okay, very important, very common symptoms in most of us. Okay, what are the signs in allergic rhinitis? What are Denny Morgan's creases? They may ask in Viva. What is Denny Morgan creases? Is a fold. See, you can see this one. Denny Morgan crease is a fold in the skin below lower eyelid caused by the edema. Denny Morgan crease. Okay, so you can see this one crease. What is allergic shyness? Dark circles. See the dark circles, darks under the eyes due to periapical venous congestion. On physical examination, what are the allergic salutes? The gesture characterized by rubbing the nose with the palm of the hand upwards decrease the itching and temporarily open the nasal passages. They used to do like this, always. It's called allergic salute. Because of the regular allergic salute, there is a transverse near the tip of the nose, secondary to the rubbing. This is the allergic crease. Okay. Nasal mucosa may appear pale and edematous, mucoid. Watery material may be seen in the nasal cavity, cheek for nasal polyp and septal deviation. See the turbinates, pale turbinates, watery rhinorrhea, blue bogey turbinates. Okay, very pale nasal mucosa. Pale nasal mucosa characterized by allergic rhinitis. Okay, the complications. On mainly otitis media with effusion, already over in otology. Nasal polyps, I'll tell you next class. Sinusitis already over. The asthma and COPD, upper respiratory tract infection, obstructive sleep disorders. These are the main complications of allergic rhinitis. What are the investigations we are going to do? Normally, we won't get much investigation to do here, but what are the theoretically we have to tell the skin prick test. Okay, mechanism allergen introduced into the skin causes degranulation of IgE sensitive mast cells with release of mediators, formation of wheal and flare. We will introduce allergy on the forearm, allergens in the forearm. Okay, drop of allergen placed on the medial aspect of the forearm, then pricked into the only epidermis. We should not enter into the dermis. In the diagram, see, like this. Okay, look for a diameter after 15 minutes. Reaction is positive if diameter is more than 3 mm. Okay, skin prick test is not done if patient is on antihistamines, TCA depressant, eczema patient, and previous history of life-threatening anaphylaxis. Okay, into the epidermis, not to the dermis. It's important. And even nasal cytology. Nasal section collected on a slide and smear fixed with 95% of the alcohol and strained with Giemsa. They show eosinophils mainly, mast cells, neutrophils, and lymphocytes. Important test, radio allergosorbent test. Here, what happens is the suspected allergen is bound to the insoluble material. No, that into that patient serum is added. The serum contains antibodies to the allergen, which will bind to the allergen. Okay, and then the radio-labeled anti-human IgE antibodies added, where it binds to those IgE antibodies already bound to the insoluble material. Only the unbound anti-human IgE antibodies are washed away. You can see in this picture, it's allergen, patient IgE antibodies formed against this allergen from serum. Only allergen specific IgE binds to the allergen. Okay, here now this is the complex of allergen and IgE complex, and for that labeled anti-IgE antibodies will be added. Then it's allergen IgE anti-IgE complex form. Okay, remaining a Watchman. These are only theoretical. Optical rhinometry is a method for objective measuring nasal patency by using optical spectroscopy to quantify infrared light by measures volume of blood and degree of nasal congestion. What is the provocation test or nasal allergy challenge test? Okay, it's the gold standard for test for allergic diagnosis, indicated when positive clinical history with negative skin prick test prior to immunotherapy. Okay, you can see in the hospital also you can do this one by introducing the suspected allergen directly into the nose, lung, or eye and measure to see if we can provoke any allergic reaction. This is primarily a research tool, but sometimes is needed. It should be done very carefully and under complete medical supervision. Okay. Now coming to the most important in our way, the management of allergic rhinitis. Okay. Regarding the classification of allergic rhinitis, say intermittent, and persistent, mild, moderate, severe. What is intermittent? When the symptoms are less than 4 days per week or less than 4 weeks. Persistent means more than 4 days per week or more than 4 weeks. Okay. Mild when we can tell it's mild, normal sleep, normal daily activities, normal work and school, no troublesome symptoms. And when it's moderate to severe, abnormal sleep, impairment of daily activities, abnormal sleep, impairment of daily activities, sport, leisure problems caused at work and school, troublesome symptoms. Then it's called, moderate to severe. Okay. What's the treatment protocol? When it's a mild intermittent, you can use H1 antihistamines and nasal decongestants. If there is no improvement after 1 month, you can treat it as a moderate to severe and intermittent. Okay. In case of improvement, you can step down and continue treatment for 1 month. That is antihistamines and nasal decongestant. In moderate, severe intermittent, and mild persistent cases, thank you. In moderate, severe intermittent, mild persistent cases, can use H1 antihistamines and nasal decongestants along with corticosteroid nasal spray. Okay. If it is no improvement after 1 month, you can I give to double dose corticosteroid nasal spray and even epatromium. What is epatromium? Epatromium. Anybody? Epatromium bromide. Anticholinergic. Good. 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 You can use epitropium for rhinorrhea, promoglycolate for seasonal cases, and montlucast for asthma. And if it is no improvement after 1 month, you can go for immunotherapy and your drugs. In moderate to severe and persistent cases, the same thing: antihistamine, nasal decongestant, double dose of corticosteroids, along with montlucast. No improvement after 1 month, add short course of oral corticosteroid, add epitropium bromide for rhinorrhea, and consider surgery for polyps and turbinates. Okay, and even after that, specific immunotherapy. The main treatment, other than this medical management, main thing for allergy avoidance is precautions. Precautions is very much important. Almost 50% of the cases will tell elude by precautions. Okay, mainly allergens avoidance is the mainstay of the treatment. What are the measures to decrease pollen exposure in spring? Shower upon entering the house after spending time outdoors, and keep house windows closed during spring season, and wash clothes in warm water after outdoor activity or after playing cricket and all. Avoid lawn gardening and any activities involving hands on exposure to tree, grass, and weed pollen. Okay, and steps to avoid fungal spores in summer. You can reduce humidity in home less than 50%, reduce moisture controls of fungal spores, reduce moisture controls of fungal spores, and you can install HEPA filters. What's HEPA filter? The high efficiency particulate air filters in main living room and bedroom. Check home for signs of water damage and visible mold growth. Okay, replacement of floor carpeting with hardwood tiles controls dampness. Okay. Indoor allergens, how to avoid? Dust mite avoidance. Wash bedding in a hot cycle, that's around 55 to 60 degrees centigrade weekly. Encase mattress, that's very important. Pillows in impermeable covers, and replace carpets with wood, linoleum flooring. Limit dust accumulating objects. What are the dust accumulating objects? Like books, papers, and all. Okay. Coming to pet allergen. Remove pet from the home. If pet is can't be removed, you have to keep them out of main living room and bedroom, and install HEPA filters in bedrooms, and wash pets with anti-dander shampoo daily. Okay, is a alert pet anti-dander shampoo. How many of you have pets at home? Nobody. Okay. Good. Medical treatment. The intranasal corticosteroids already told, antihistaminics, decongestants, master stabilizers. I'll tell regarding each one individually. Leukotriene receptor antagonist and anticholinergics. I told you, no, the steroids will act at the arachnoid metabolism. They are recommended first time therapy, intermittent, persistent, and moderate to severe allergic rhinitis. Okay, they get a decrease in sneezing and nasal congestion compared to antihistaminics. Efficacy of drug may take up to 2 weeks also. Most effective when used daily rather than intermittently. It is given before the allergy season and continued throughout season to prevent nasal symptoms. What are the intranasal steroids? You know, beclomethasone, fluticasone, mometasone, okay, triamcinolone. These all are the main steroids. Azelastine, okay. How to use this intranasal steroid nasal spray? It's also important. You have to explain the patient how to use. Okay, you should not use like this, standing and keeping your head right side like. Either you have to bend your head like this and you can push. Otherwise, you can do in this postures. If you are difficult, you can do like this. Okay, look down, shake bottle well, look down, using the right hand for left nostril and vice versa. Okay, the correct position is like this. Okay, it should not into the medial the septum side, should be at the lateral wall. Okay, the antihistamines, mainstay treatment for mild intermittent allergic rhinitis. They reduce symptoms of nasal itching, watery eyes, rhinorrhea, and sneezing. They less effect on nasal congestion and blockage. That's why we'll add antihistamines with nasal decongestants. Okay, and the nasal decongestants, oral tablets. It is most sedative among the second generation oxymetazoline. Yeah, that's actually not in tablet form. Oxy and galometrazole also both are not. No. Yes, good. Pseudoephedrine. Pseudoephedrine is an anti-histaminic decongestant in tablet form. Okay, good. Less effect on nasal congestion blockage. Okay, that's why we'll combine with decongestants. Citizen most sedative among the second generation antihistaminics. Fexofenadine is the least sedative. What is the name of Evil? Anybody? Everybody knows the name Evil. What is the composition in Evil? I'm going to ask some questions here. This is very important. Pharmacology, I shall it all already. Phenyramine maleate. Okay, good. Phenyramine maleate. So, what are the other first generation antihistaminics? Those are very sedative, Chlorphenramine, chlorpromazine, chlorpromazine, diphenhydramine, dimenhydrinate. Have you heard of diphenhydramine, dimenhydrinate? What is diphenhydramine? Yes. What is promethazine? What is promethazine? We'll use in, I think, if you come to OT, they'll give us local local anesthesia. Promethazine. Have you heard of Phenergan? Phenergan is actually promethazine. Okay. What is cyproheptadine? The importance of cyproheptadine. Cyproheptadine. Okay, can use any other use of cyproheptadine. Okay, it causes actually weight gain. Cyproheptadine is very much causing weight gain. Okay, and for the recent antihistaminics, those are less sedative. One I told you already, fexofenadine, Rimini, loratadine, disloratadine, good, and anything else? Levocetirizine, okay, more recent than that. Digilastin, okay. Rupatidine, good. Rupatidine, good. This is 102. Okay. If the patient of age around 35, around 40 to 50 years, the patient comes to you with nasal allergy, like symptoms like sneezing and continuous rhinorrhea. Which tablets you old generation tablet you give, or the new generation antihistaminic you give? New generation, depending on their work. Good. That is also okay. Good. Only the recent new generation antihistaminics, their advantage of being non-sedative, but they're not very much effective in controlling rhinorrhea. Okay, that you should remember. If the patient is very much symptomatic, you better to give like levocetirizine or that, because if you do that fexofenadine, rupatidine and all, they're less sedative, okay, but they're not as effective as this old generation because of less anticholinergic activity. Anticholinergic activity is more with old generation antihistaminics. Okay, understood? Good. The first and second generation, they are short acting, they are long acting. Anyway, no more sedative, they are less sedative. They cross blood-brain barrier, they won't cross blood-brain barrier. That's why not sedative. See here, anti-muscarinic. I think anticholinergic side effects will be there. Here, no anti-muscarinic side effects. Okay. What are the side effects of antihistamines? Like H1 receptor adverse effect of first generation antihistamine because of H1 receptor, they cause CNS neurotransmission reduction, sedation, and all. Xerostomia because of muscarinic receptor, alpha adrenergic receptor like hypotension, dizziness, reflex tachycardia. Okay, appetite increase because of serotonergic receptors. Okay, I told you now. But ciprofloxacin is a main drug. If the patient is very low weight, then only you can do that ciprofloxacin. The patient is already overweight, you should avoid using ciprofloxacin. Okay. Other leukotriene receptor antagonists. You know, I think here available in India is only montelukast. These are Geluton, pranlukast, Jafurikast are not available here. Okay. Other mast cell stabilizers, sodium chromoglycate, chromoline. Okay, stabilizes the mast cell and inhibits the degranulation of sensitized mast cells. Okay. Other anticholinergics, I told you already, petroleum bromide. These are the nasal decongestion, atropine or oxymetazoline, xylometazoline. This is Nasivian is oxymetazoline. Okay, can't use more than we can't use it for more than 5 days because it may cause rhinitis medicamentosa. Okay, I told you already. What are the immunomodulators? They may ask you in Viva. What are the immunomodulators for allergic rhinitis? These are the omalizumab. Is a humanized anti-IgE antibody. It's bind to the Fc portion. That Fc portion of IgE block test. It binds to the Fc portion of IgE and prevents its attachment to the mast cell. This is omalizumab. Okay. It's not useful if IgE antibody is less than 700 micrograms per ml. Okay. Other blockers are infliximab, adalimumab, and etanercept. Okay. These are also used in rheumatic arthritis. Okay. Main thing is omalizumab. What is immunotherapy? Very rarely doing, but it's important. Okay. It's a technique by which you can have to increase the amounts of allergen extraction to inject subcutaneously for several months until maintenance dose is reached. Okay. This maintenance dose given for monthly for several years. Okay. That's the main problem of this therapy. Okay. What are the indications here? Evidence of IgE mediated disease, inability to avoid allergens, and intolerable side effects of drugs. Okay, because of these all the side effects of antihistaminics and evidence of IgE mediated disease, These are the main indications for immunotherapy. What are the contraindications then? Patients multiple allergy. Only if one or you can suspect only one or two allergens you can suspect, you can use. But if the patient has multiple allergies, you can't give this immunotherapy. Even in asthma patients also are not supposed to give, and in beta blockers also, patients on beta blockers. Okay. What are the therapies here? Epicutaneous, intralymphatic, subcutaneous. Mainly epicutaneous immunotherapy acts by targeting antigen presenting cells. Intralymphatic immunotherapy targets causes decreased IgE levels. Okay, subcutaneous useful in involvement of asthma, allergic rhinitis, and stinging insect hypersensitivity. Here actually sublingual is little bit important. Okay, sublingual immunotherapy. We call it as slit, SL90 slit. Okay, here the extract is kept under the tongue for 1 to 2 minutes at present. The sublingual formulation 3 to 4 using allergen immunotherapy. Those are what are Timothy grass, Grastec allergen. Okay, ragweed, ragweedec, graspolens, oralair. Dust mite allergen is Oda, okay, much important. Then anything surgical intervention needed in allergic rhinitis? Only is very limited. Only those patients who has turbinate hypertrophy, so that even after usage of this anti-histamics and corticosteroids, even instead of using those medications, the patient complaining of nasal block, then you can do submucous turbinectomy, reduce the size of the Bobby turbinates, and along with that septoplasty, even the patient has gross DNS, then we have to do septoplasty and sinus surgery if the clearance of sinuses, if sinusitis is present. Okay, and the last one is UV phototherapy. Phototherapy. It has a profound immunosuppressive effect by inhibiting immediate hypersensitivity. Okay, reduce the antigen presenting capacity of dendritic cells and induces apoptosis and inhibits pro-inflammatory mediators. Okay, it results in reduction of nasal symptoms in allergic rhinitis. Okay, this is regarding allergic rhinitis. You should know the management of allergic rhinitis mainly. Okay, that's important in allergic rhinitis. Mainly steroids, intranasal steroids, and antihistaminics, new generation and old generation antihistaminics, and mast cell stabilizers. Okay, these all are important. Very practically very important this allergic rhinitis, because we get a lot of patients regarding this allergic rhinitis. If you ignore this condition, the chances of developing into asthma and even nasal polyps. That's why be very careful in treating allergy patients, because allergy is the starting of this one. If you neglect it, it may lead to asthma. That's the next this one. Okay, in nose only, ethmoidal polyposis is most common in allergic patients. Once ethmoidal polyposis, will get anosmia, complete nasal block. Okay, after that you can all the ear condition like acute otitis media, acute otitis media, serous otitis media. These are complications. Okay, I'll tell polyps in the next class. That is very important, and may get in practicals also. Case. Okay. Coming to the syllabus of the second internal, just want to ask you what are the topics covered so far. Okay. Can you tell me regarding ear otology? And one more thing I want to tell you is in our ENT, second internal includes from starting, not excluding first internal, including first internal syllabus, because first internal we put only this short answer, that's a multiple choice questions. No, that's why this time we want to keep syllabus of both from starting, first internal, second internal. And more than that, mostly we covered all important topics in first internal syllabus only. Okay, that's why if you read this time, you will cover almost more than 90% of ENT. Okay, that's why we want to keep the syllabus of first internal, second internal, because we are keeping this time as university model exam. Okay, in otology ఎంతవరకు అయింది? మినియర్స్ డిసీజ్ సారీ మినియర్స్ డిసీజ్ ఎంవిఎఫ్ఆర్ గారు అయిపోయిందా? is finish the Meniere's disease? Meniere's over. Okay. We'll be having anatomy, physiology, audiology, hearing loss, vestibular functions. Okay. External ear disorders, eustachian tube disorders, cholesteatomas, complications, otosclerosis, facial nerve, and up to Meniere's. Meniere's, I think, no? I think if you see the Dingra book, I think I have only right now Dingra with me. If you see the Dingra book up to chapter 15th. Okay. If you have any queries, please let me know. Any of the topics not yet covered, please let me know. I think up to 15th you can keep with chapter 15th. Just see the book. Because otology is very important. It's only almost 50% of our total ENT. Is it okay to keep up to chapter 15? In Dingra, I am telling, sorry. I have only Dingra with me right now. Facial nerve disorders over now. Facial nerve disorders. Okay. Then up to 15th I am writing until the topics up to 15th in otology. Is it okay? And next nose, regarding nose, all anatomy, nose, physiology, external nose, nasal septum over, chronic rhinitis over, glandular disease over, allergic rhinitis are finished, or some other metanitis. Only in between some miscellaneous disorders of nasal cavity is not covered. The nasal polyps will cover in the next class. Epistaxis is over. And trauma to the face is not covered. Anatomy, physiology of nose over. Pernodontitis, acute rhinosinusitis, chronic rhinitis is over. Complications, sinusitis is over. I think in nose, almost 23, 24, 25, everything is almost covered except 29. And up to nasal polyps also I'll cover in the next class. And 34 trauma to the face not covered. Up to 38, okay, except this 29 and 34, up to 38. That is complications of sinusitis. Okay. Chapter name, because all of us are not having in the book. If not now, make a slide of chapter science. Okay. Anyway, I'll send actually WhatsApp to all of you. Okay, what the topics included for your second internal. Okay, and coming to the oral cavity, anatomy, and disorders of oral cavity over. Okay, anatomy and common disorders of oral cavity over, and the salivary glands are not over. Coming to the pharynx, it's anatomy, adenoids over, and up to and is tonsillitis. And in the next class, Srimas will tell head and neck space infections also. Okay. Head and neck space infections. In pharynx, we'll be having anatomy, adenoids, tonsillitis, pharyngitis, head and neck space infections. Okay. Coming to the larynx, you will audiometry is there. Audiometry anyway already finished now. Having audiometry topic. And regarding larynx, except laryngotracheal trauma and cancer larynx. Anyway, laryngeal paralysis, Sneharka will tell in the next class. Except that laryngeal trauma and laryngeal cancer and foreign bodies and tracheostomy. Remaining topics will be there. Acute and chronic inflammation of larynx will be there. Anatomy, physiology will be there. Okay, and the congenital lesions and stridor will be there. Okay, and laryngeal paralysis. These are four will be there. Okay, except that trauma, cancer, tracheostomy, and foreign bodies. Okay, that is for your second internal syllabus. Anything? Any doubts in this? Oh, sorry. Esophagus is there. I forgot. Esophagus, complete esophagus is there. Esophagus is covered already. This dysphagia, everything is covered. Anatomy, disorders of esophagus, dysphagia, and I think only foreign bodies of food passes I think not covered. No, I think complete esophagus topic will be there. Okay. I think this esophagus is covered by both of them. Any doubts? We'll be having only theory this time. Second internal now. For third internal, we'll be having given practicals also. Hope we'll do offline next time. Foreign body in esophagus is covered or not covered? Okay, except that foreign body esophagus, the remaining three topics we will be having. Okay. In oral cavity is not much important, but that anatomy, common disorders of oral cavity like leukoplakia, I think he has covered. No, submucous fibrosis and all are over. No. We have covered already. Tumors of oral cavity. Anatomy, disorders and tumors of oral cavity. Okay, except the salivary glands. Except the salivary glands, anatomy, disorders, common disorders and tumors of oral cavity. Okay. Okay. Anything? I think if you read this now, I think except in otology also almost covered. Most probably will be covering almost 80 to 90% of our ENT. Okay. Okay. If you have any doubts, please message me. And anyway, by tomorrow, I'll tell again that this one are topics and send you all. Okay. Shall I conclude? Okay. Thank you.